wir sind immer noch hier in Halle 7, direkt in der Mitte. Ihr seid auch hier, das sieht wunderbar aus. Oha, es sind aber einige da. Aber nicht nur ihr seid da, auch vor den Bildschirmen. Oh, da wird auch geklatscht sogar, da ist einiges los. Ne, wir haben auch Gäste. Neben mir sitzt John Bloch von 4A Games. Er ist Executive Producer zum Spiel Metro Exodus. Und wir wechseln jetzt wieder auf Englisch, weil der gute Herr wahrscheinlich unsere Sprache nicht versteht. Dann begrüße ich ihn mal ganz kurz. Hey John, how are you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
All right, I just introduced you to our audience, but now we're talking English because you got a great game here with you, and we are seeing what today? You brought some B-roll or what?
Yeah, we brought our trailer that we debuted this week for Gamescom. It shows off one of our new environments that we haven't shown yet. Well, actually, I guess technically we did in our announced trailer a year and a half ago at E3. We showed off a little bit of this environment. It's the environment that takes place during the autumn season. So, you know, visually it's very different looking from anything you've seen with Metro before, because usually it's, you know, snowy and you know, like a post-apocalyptic winter kind of thing going on. And in this one it's, you know, pretty different because it's, you know, autumn in a forest and there's no snow and the sun's out, so it's a little bit different.
As far as I've seen, it looks pretty amazing. And if I remember correctly, you as well said at the end of the presentation, which I saw 2 days ago, that you will, in fact, make use of the new technology which NVIDIA just introduced a couple of days ago, the ray tracing thing. Can you say something about that? I'm very, very much interested in this.
Yeah. So we've been really close partners with NVIDIA for a long time. We've had a really good relationship throughout all 3 Metro titles. And our engine is, you know, built from the ground up to be multi-platform. There's no like lead platform, there's no port platform. So we try to take advantage of every platform as much as we can, and really push the technology that's available to us. And that's certainly no different, you know, with PC.
Okay.
And with PC manufacturers. And so when NVIDIA came to us, you know, about this new RTX technology, we jumped at the chance to work with them to implement it. And the way we're doing it is we're utilizing real-time ray trace global illumination. So it really allows us to you know, bring a whole new level of realism to the visuals. The lighting is really realistic. When you know, if you see that demonstration that we showed off at NVIDIA's event. You can see there's only one light source in the environment, and the light is just bouncing around realistically and bouncing off of surfaces realistically. It's a really cool bit of tech. That's, it's really exciting.
Before we start to see some moving pictures of the game, I just have one question, because the technology will already is not yet implemented in the video cards, as far as I understood that. Will the game look better when it's released than we're seeing now, because the ray tracing is not yet possible?
Yeah, I guess we don't have the ray trace demo video for you today, but I think it's up on one of NVIDIA's channels probably. That you can go see. It is implemented, it is working. We had, at NVIDIA's event, we had a live demo of the technology working in Metro.
All right. So we are going to start with the trailer, which was made for Gamescom, as far as you said. Is it true?
Yeah.
All right, which one is it, the left one or the right one?
Oh, you do have RTX gameplay. So you have the RTX video and the B-roll. We don't have the trailer, so we can actually look at the RTX video.
RTX video, that's what we just talked about?
Yeah, so this is what the game looks like with RTX on.
Gameplay footage has been supplied to media outlets.
Yeah, I guess this part should be cut out. All right, so this is some B-roll showing what things look like with RTX on. So right now, what you're looking at is there's only one light source in the world. You know, normally we'd have multiple light sources all over the place to kind of simulate simulate the behavior of light as it bounces around the environment and lights things up. But this is only one light source coming from the sun.
So it's open world now, as far as I understood that.
Not quite. It's,
not quite?
It's more like we're calling it sandbox survival. So there's we still have the classic linear levels that everyone knows from previous Metro games, and then we've introduced these environments that are more open and have more sandbox style gameplay. where you can move around more freely, and you have a lot more opportunity for playing the game the way that you want to play it, adjusting your strategies, customizing your weapons, changing the functionality of the weapons and their attributes so that you can approach situations differently.
Okay. So this time, the Metro game seems to take place outside of the Metro.
Yeah, the main story of this game is that Artyom is embarking on an epic train journey across Russia, and seeing what's out there. The previous two games, all he knew was that the survivors in Moscow were the only ones that survived the apocalypse, and nobody else was out there. And then at the beginning of Metro Exodus, he finds out that's not actually true. There's a whole world out there with people surviving, in different places, and so he embarks on this epic journey to go find out what's out there.
All right. Is this still okay with the original book?
Metro 2033, the game, was based directly off of the book of the same name. Metro Last Light was an original story that we wrote with Dmitry Glukhovsky, the writer of the series, because his second book, Metro 2034, kind of went in a different direction and didn't follow the story of the main character Artyom that we wanted to focus on. And then his book, Metro 2035, is kind of the precursor to the story of Metro Exodus. So if you read that book, the story kind of leads into the beginning of the story of Metro Exodus.
Okay, and are we playing as Artyom, the main character from the book?
Yes.
We are Artyom still?
Yes.
Ah, all right. So what's his problem this time?
What do you mean?
Timo, where does he want to go with the train? Why does he want to ride the train?
The goal is to go and see what's out there. Maybe find a new place to live. It's more about seeing what's outside now that he's realized that there is actually something out there.
Ah, okay. So is this a main story-driven experience, or more like an open experience where the player chooses where to go, are there decisions to be made or something like that?
It's definitely still a story-driven experience, something that's been core to the Metro series through all the games. And this one's no different. There is a linear story arc that carries you through the experience, and it's a train journey that you're kind of moving along the tracks, moving along this epic journey, and so you will move from area to area. It's not like a hub and spoke kind of setup. It is still a linear progression through the story, at the beginning, a middle, and an end.
All right, so we're about to start the main footage.
Yeah, so this is the I guess this is the main B-roll. So
this is what I have seen behind closed doors, and now our viewers can see this as well. Is that true?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
that's
so
awesome.
This is longer sections of footage as we're playing through the demo content. Is it playing?
All right, we're waiting for the disclaimer again, or maybe I just didn't hit play.
Doesn't seem to be playing. There we go.
When you say you're having an epic journey across Russia, I was imagining like very cold environments, ice, snow and stuff. But if it's so epic, do we actually switch from autumn to winter and from winter to spring or something like that?
Yeah, so the game starts off in winter, and as you progress through the journey, I mean, it takes a long time to take this train journey across the continent, and all the places and people that you find along the way, and all the things that happen. So as time progresses, the different areas that you get to will be in different seasons. So this level being in autumn is actually pretty far along in the journey. It's
right.
a few thousand kilometers away from Moscow.
You still got some impressive indoor environments, I see.
Yeah, we definitely wanted to make sure that some of those core elements that make Metro still remain. Like you know, a lot of the claustrophobia and you know, tense moments. You know, never knowing what's, you know, around the next corner. A lot of exploration. You know, really. You know, allowing players to really immerse themselves in the world and spend time looking for, you know, more story depth, just like, you know, maybe you just, you know, want to find out who used to live in this place. We put a lot of attention to detail into crafting these areas so that they really feel real and like somebody used to be there or still is.
All right. So we're using a crossbow right now. This usually is assigned for some kind of stealth approach.
Yep.
Is this something in the game that makes sense?
Yeah, I mean the Metro games have always been something where, you know, we always try to encourage more thoughtful, careful, you know, potentially stealth-based gameplay. You know, when approaching situations with potential enemies.
Even modding you got in there.
Yeah. Yeah, so the weapon systems have been completely rebuilt from the ground up to be modular. There's all those different hard points. You can use that backpack to customize your weapons at any time. So you can change how you want to approach a situation. And, you know, you can attempt to play as, you know, play in stealth, but if you do get, you know, noticed, or if you do want to just go in guns blazing, the game will adapt and, you know, you can have, you know, full combat scenarios as well.
All right, so the game gives the choice to the player. You can go stealth or you can go guns blazing.
Yep. But if you do go guns blazing, you have to be careful still because you know, resources are scarce. It is a survival game, so you know, you have to scavenge around for resources, craft the supplies that you need, you know, ammunition, health packs.
Yeah, sure. And ammunition is scarce, I guess.
Yep.
All right. So who are the guys we are shooting right now? What's their problem?
Well, so this area used to be basically like a summer camp, like, you know, for scouts.
Summer camp.
Kind of, you know, where kids can go in. And these kids, you know, when the apocalypse happened, you know, nobody showed up to pick them up and take them home, so they just kind of stayed here, and they grew up in this
that's
environment.
Awesome.
And they've kind of formed their own little society based on, you know, what they knew as kids in this camp. And you're kind of this intruder in their territory. You know, maybe they've never even seen another human being their entire lives, so they don't know who you are. You're coming in, you have weapons, so, you know, they might not be too friendly depending on how you interact with them.
All right. How is the player supposed to know those little details?
Well, a lot of that comes through in you know, bits of fiction that you can find around in the environments. You know, all the details that are, you know, around it. You know, maybe you find a note with some information on it. Maybe you overhear a conversation.
Right.
That's something that we've always had a lot of in Metro games. Is if you do sneak around and you have an opportunity to overhear, you know, people talking, you can learn more about them. So you can like absorb more of the.
I like that.
Yeah.
So this looks a little bit gray. What's
night vision goggles are on.
Night vision goggles on. All right. So is it smart to go into the woods at night in Metro
Probably
Exodus?
not.
Probably not, right?
We do have a full day-night cycle, and so you can either, like, you know, let the day-night cycle progress on its own, or if you find a place to rest, you can advance it to either day or night, depending on how you want to approach situations. Because there's advantages and disadvantages to approaching scenarios during the day or at night.
So depending on the time, this will totally different. The player can choose when to approach.
Like there might be more mutants out at night, so maybe it's a little bit more dangerous to traverse areas. But when you get to a camp with enemies in it, they might, you know, be sleeping or huddled around a campfire, and so it might be easier to sneak around. And, you know, maybe during the day, they're you know, more spread out on patrol, something like that. But you can't really hide from them because, you know, the sun's out. So you know, there's pluses and minuses depending on how you want to play.
Okay, so right now we switch from humanoid enemies to some kind of animals, look like wolves or giant rats or something.
Mutant wolves, yeah.
Is this an area you have to go through, or is this an example of a little hidden secret you can find?
This right here, definitely. That's something on the side. We have a lot of side content that players can find and explore. We don't have you know, traditional side quests that you know, most open style games would have. We like players to find all that content a lot more naturally, instead of having some guy standing out there saying, go kill 10 of those things and bring me back their, pelts or something. Like we didn't really want to approach adding this style of gameplay in that way. We wanted to find our own formula that still makes sure that this game feels like Metro.
Okay, makes sense.
Speak, Biden. You summoned the council, so take the word first.
So this is an example of, sneaking around and you can overhear what's going on. Loads and loads of conversations like this. The script this time around is larger than both previous games and all their DLC combined. So there's a lot of dialogue. There's a lot of story that you can find out. I mean, on this journey this time, there's a handful of people that go along with Artyom and go on this journey, and they all have backstories and relationships and reactions to the players' actions along the way. So there's loads more story that players, if they want to, they can spend the time and absorb.
The boys died there to the last man. The deadlines are spreading. Holding that is harder than keeping one intruder under a lock. We will hold the swamp camp. Don't be afraid, weaklings. You see that again and I'll get you. Watch your tone.
All right, but this crossbow looks a little bit modified. How does that work? Can you find all those things all around? If you look around, you can put everything on your weapons, do it as you like.
Yeah, all those bits are things that you can find around in the environment, either on their own or when you kill somebody. If he has, that item attached to his weapon, you can then either take his gun as is, or you can strip those parts off so that you can add them to your existing modification. And those modifications can be made at any time using the backpack, or if you find a workbench, you can do more things like even customize your outfit with different equipment. You can clean your weapons because they do get dirty, and when they get dirty, they will break down and overheat and jam a lot more often. So you need to maintain them. So you can see right here, we just stripped that gun of all of its extra parts so that we can use them either as resource materials, or if there's an actual part on that weapon that we don't have yet, we'll take that part and put it in our inventory so that we can use it.
All right. So we're crossing through here. What's right now our mission? What are we looking for here in this particular part?
In this particular area, we're trying to sneak through and not get noticed, obviously, but we're trying to get, when we came into this area, we were with somebody, and we're trying to get to find him. And
he got missing.
Yeah, we basically got separated, and we're trying to catch up without getting noticed by these guys.
So we're not on our own. We got some friends this time, or what?
Yeah. So like I said, there's more people on the journey this time. In previous games, there was maybe only one or two people that Artyom would kind of come across in a meaningful way, and that would join him, on his story at any point in time.
Okay.
But in this one, there's many more characters that go along on that journey, and that you can interact with in these environments, and learn about all their relationships, and they interact with Artyom differently depending on how he acts in the game, the choices that the player makes.
All right. Can you say the ratio of the enemies? We're seeing very many human enemies right now in this demo. How about those animals? Are they coming back? Huge bears or some crazy monsters like that?
Yeah, I mean, in this environment there is a huge bear. There are loads of mutants. I mean, there's a lot of returning mutants from previous games that'll be familiar to players that are coming back. And there's some new ones that, if we come to an environment that's where some of these mutants don't make sense, then we go back to the design team. We're like, all right, we need something that what makes sense here. So there's a lot of new mutants that would potentially be living in this environment. I mean, even those wolves, like those are a new creature that you have to fight against that weren't in previous games.
Ooh, now we're shooting sniper rifles.
Yeah, so this is actually a heavily modified revolver, as you can see. That's we've added a long barrel and a scope to it, and so that kind of gives you an example of how much you can modify these weapons and change their functionality.
All right. Every time a weapon drops, you got the choice of picking up the weapon or picking up the part. Is that right?
Yep.
All right. And you still got this nice What's that, handshoe on your left?
On the
What information do we get on your left arm?
on the wrist there. So the watch tells you the in-game time, but if you put on your gas mask, it'll switch to tell you how much time is left on your filters. There's a compass there that tells you kind of the general direction you need to go, and the blue light is kind of like, it's a light meter, and it tells you when you're in visible light. So if you're trying to sneak around, you can check that to know if you might be spotted because you're lit up.
All right. So
and then there's also a meter on there that tells you the radiation level.
Reducing all the HUD elements to the minimum.
Yeah. We don't really like to put HUD up on screen if we can help it. We like to physicalize things in the world because it feels a lot more grounded, and it as soon as you put something up on screen, like a HUD, it kind of rips you out of the immersion of the game. So we try to make sure that everything is as grounded and realistic as possible.
I have a couple of questions from our forums at Rocket Beans TV, and I'd like to redirect them to you. If you would be so kind, give me a second. All right, we got Tim, who was asking, how far is the story? Oh, it's pretty loud right now. How far is the story of Artyom and the book story going to connect with the game story?
Well, the story of Metro 2035, the recent book, if that's what he's asking about, it leads directly into the story of Metro Exodus.
Right.
So if you read the most recent book, Metro 2035, then as you finish it, that's basically where the story for this starts.
All right. Another question from Jay. He's asking, why do you introduce zombies to the video game series? Don't you fear that this game might become just another zombie shooter?
Well, so we don't actually have zombies, but there is one of the new mutants that we showed off at E3 is a humanimal, and I guess it's kind of like, maybe it's kind of like a zombie, but it's again, another example of us thinking about, what would have lived there, and what would have mutated into something.
Sure, yeah.
That's interesting to fight, and that creature, comes from that exploration of what would have lived in that environment. So, and as you can see, those were not in this environment. So there's differences across the board. It's not just like a bunch of zombies are now in the game.
All right, and we got a very, very specific question from Mido, who actually seems to have Linux or a Mac or something like that. The previous parts have been released on those platforms. Are you planning to do this again with Metro Exodus?
We don't have anything to announce about that at this time. But, but as you said, yes, we have done that in the past. So,
Okay, so what about the release date? You got some info about that?
Metro Exodus comes out on February 22nd, 2019.
2019.
Xbox, PlayStation 4, and PC.
Xbox, PlayStation 4, and PC. All right. Yeah, it looks pretty amazing. Awesome. I like the technology you're putting in there. I like the theme. I like the graphics.
Awesome.
I like the whole game. I read the book, actually, the first part, and I loved it. And I'm looking forward to it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Und das war's. Danke auch, dass ihr dabei wart hier mit Metro Exodus. Großartiges Spiel. Wir machen weiter im Programm, also bleibt dabei, klatscht ruhig fröhlich weiter, ja? Und wir sehen uns bestimmt demnächst wieder hier. Bleibt dran.